Because of the following CBS Sports coverage of the NBA Championship, Hawaii Five-0 and Barnaby Jones will not be presented this evening.
On Sunday afternoon, it all began. The NBA Championship between the Boston Celtics and the Phoenix Suns. JoJo White held to 2 points in the first half, exploded with 20 in the second half, and the Boston Celtics defeated Phoenix 97-86. That sets the stage for tonight's second game in this NBA Championship between the Cinderella team out of the West, those Phoenix Suns, against the fabled Boston Celtics. The crowd at the Boston Garden on its feet, a sellout as the Celtics are now being introduced. Good evening, everybody. I'm Brent Musburger, along with Rick Barry, Mindy Rudolph, and Sonny Hill. So nice that you could join us with us. This is going to be some ball game, Rick. What do we expect here?
Well, Brent, I think it has tremendous psychological impact. The Phoenix Suns, of course, lost the first game in each of their first two series. They came back to win the second game, went home with a 1-1 split. So for them, they feel that they can win this ball game. If they do that, to go back to Phoenix where they've won 17 of 18, they can really put the pressure on the Celtics. I think you will see a much more confident, a much more relaxed Phoenix Suns team out here tonight. The Celtics, of course, have not lost yet at home in the playoffs.
As you know, Rick, mental attitude is so very important. Mindy Rudolph has been talking to John McLeod, and let's go to Mindy for a report on the Suns.
The Phoenix Suns club is cool, calm, and composed. In fact, they're almost cocky. John McLeod said all they have to do is execute, to run their plays, to run their patterns as they did Sunday. In fact, he came out with a great line. He said they threw enough shots up there that were bricks they could have built a house. All they have to do is just put the ball in the hoop, and they feel not only they could beat Boston tonight, but they could beat them in the series. Now let's go to Sonny Hill for the Boston story.
When you talk about the Boston Celtics, you sort of watch the way that they warmed up, and you recognize to a man how important they feel this ball game is. I took it a step further. I spoke to Paul Silas and JoJo White, and both of them indicated to me the importance of this ball game. In fact, JoJo White said, what's the use of winning the game Sunday if you lose the game here? You have to win your home court games. Paul Silas used the word that I use often. He says we have to come out and establish the tempo. So you can see the Boston Celtic organization is ready for this basketball game. Now, let's go to the very clean debonair in his four-breasted suit, Brent Musburger.
Sonny, I'm just trying to keep up to you, big guy. Tommy Heinsohn with a few words, last-minute instructions for his Celtics. Charlie Scott as the Phoenix Suns break their huddle and come to midcourt. We can take a look at the all-important matchups at the forward position. Silas against Hurd. Silas with a bit of a rebounding edge in the first game. Nelson will take on Perry. Then at center, the Rookie of the Year against Dave Cowens, Alvin Adams, and what a game he turned in. Then in the backcourt, the guard matchup. JoJo White now taking Paul Westphal, and of course that leaves still another rookie. Ricky Sobers of Phoenix matched against Charlie Scott. During the regular season, Scott took Westphal. Whoever wins the tap will have the basketball to start the fourth quarter as we get underway. Game 2. Earl Strom and Joe Gashu are on the floor. Bobby Rakel is the third official watching from the sideline. Phoenix controls, and they go right to work. And, of course, John McLeod wants to see how Westphal is shooting. He misses his first attempt. Celtics battle, and they control, and here they come. Scott waiting to set it up. Don Nelson. You notice that John Havlicek is not in the starting lineup. Cowens came up over the top and tapped the ball. Havlicek, who played 40 minutes in Game 1, is healthy, and Rick Barry, I expect to see him here early. Look at Cowens with pressure there.
Yes, I think he's going to try and save for the psychological advantage. You know, John came in the game the last time, and he really gave them a lift, and his knowledge out there on the floor is really just invaluable to the Celtics, and I think that rather than bring him in early, Tom Heinsohn wants to bring him in and save him for the right moment.
That foul was against number 10, JoJo White. First foul of the basketball game. No score. Cowens coming down on the steal. Sobers cuts back, and with a fine defensive job done by the rookie, who was coming back, and he stepped on the sideline. They have turned it over.
Nice steal. Cowens already has the ball on a good steal. Now here's Silvers coming up, gets his hands on it, makes the steal himself, but he has a little difficulty going back up the court. He does have trouble dribbling the ball with his left hand.
It's been a long layoff between games. I'm not surprised that the play is a little sloppy here in the early moments of this game. But you just wait until these two teams get it on in Game 2. Cowens inside. Tap back control. Curtis Perry releases now to Sobers. Sobers right down the middle. Hurd is on the right. Sobers will take it himself. And it was Paul Silas who skied. Garfield Hurd has got it. Scott couldn't come back with control for the Celtics. Alvin Adams was way off. Inside Perry. He's got it down and through the foul.
A good play that time by Curtis Perry, establishing the inside position. Cowens made a good defensive play on Adams, deflecting the ball. It came up short. Let's take a look at the play here. See the ball coming up a little short. Curtis Perry in good position, goes back up, picks up the foul and the three-point play. Both teams, as you pointed out, Brett, will be a little bit off because you can scrimmage all you want, but in 4 days you're going to lose a little bit of the timing.
Now it's JoJo White on the near side coming up against Ricky Sobers. He's off, and Alvin Adams. And obviously both teams are very cold here in the early going. It's a 2-0 score. Phoenix is ahead of Boston. Game 3 in this series, Sunday in Phoenix. 10:30 start in Phoenix. CBS will be there. Garfield Hurd with a miss. Cowens couldn't control. Perry inside to Adams, fine pass. He drew the foul and put it down and put the Suns up by 2 field goals.
Good look that time underneath the basket, and the pass coming off to Adams. We'll take a look at this play coming up here. You see the fake going up for the jump shot, passing off. Alvin Adams has excellent body control when he's underneath the basket and a great ability to draw the foul. But the important thing on that play, Brent, is that not many players have the ability to be able to spot an open man once they commit themselves to the jump shot. And if you can do that, you'd be surprised how many easy baskets your team can come up with.
All right, Rick, it's 5-0. Phoenix over Boston. Don Nelson cut off there by Garfield Hurd, still with possession of the ball. You'll watch the Celtics slow it down a little bit without Havlicek out there. Phoenix will force them to play a pattern style.
That is not a good foul, Brent. Paul Silas is not much of a threat on that particular play. You've got to let him shoot that shot. I don't think he's going to beat you with it consistently.
And, Rick, that was the first foul against Phoenix. It's on Perry. 3 team fouls already against the Celtics. Silas. As Rick said, not a good outside shooter. Charlie Scott cleaned up. Ball would not fall, but Curtis Perry has come up over behind him and picked up his 2nd foul of this game. So Curtis Perry in the opening moments in a bit of a jam.
Exactly. Charlie Scott snuck by his man, got inside position, and Curtis tried to go over and block the shot, picked up the foul. It really wasn't Curtis Perry's fault. The guard let his man slip underneath the basket. That's why it's important for all players to box the men off the boards.
Scott puts the Celtics on the scoreboard with 9:57 remaining in the first quarter. It is a 5-2 basketball game. And again, that start of Game 3 Sunday on CBS, 1:30 Eastern Time. Off of Hurd's hands, he saved it. Back to Paul Westphal. Deep in the corner, and Sobers was out of bounds. Earl Strom was right there to make the call.
Unfortunately, that time for the Phoenix Suns, Sobers did not see Adams cut to the basket. He was wide open for a layup, but he missed it.
The Celtics setting up a pattern play. Nelson got inside, and again there was a whistle.
Well, we call that bailing a man out, Brent. Now, both times, the last fouls on men driving to the basket, they had difficult shots to take. And in that situation, you just should not foul the man. You should make him take that shot. The percentages are got to be in your favor. He's not going to make a high percentage of those type of shots.
Rick, the Celtics picked up the first 3 fouls, and suddenly Curtis Perry with 2 and Alvin Adams with 1. We have 3 team fouls for each ball club right now with 9:34. John McLeod talking to Curtis Perry over by the Suns bench. Nelson at the free throw line for the Celtics. Puts it down. It's 5-4. 1-point Sun lead. Crusher in the backcourt. Cowens goes down with the rookie Alvin Adams. Is he smooth? If this is the first time you've ever seen Alvin Adams, keep an eye on him. What a passer he is. Here he is inside against Dave Cowens, taking the pass. Shot wouldn't fall. Nelson with control. Intercepted. Garfield Hurd. Phoenix with a second chance. Celtics again sloppy with the ball in the early going. Hurd was coming through, and he was shoved as he tried to come baseline. And it's Cowens with his first foul. And for the Celtics, that should be their 4th team foul.
Hurd made a good move and got Dave Cowens to commit himself and took the baseline, and Dave had to foul him. Otherwise, it would have been an easy layup.
Week from Saturday on CBS, the famed Belmont. Paul Westphal up with a jump shot, puts it down. So he is 1 of 2. And keep in mind, he was 4 of 17 in Game 1 after shooting 53% in their first 13 playoff games. Silas with a lob to Cowens. Pretty play.
Yes, that's very reminiscent of Celtic basketball. Also, the Phoenix Suns do a lot of that, cutting and going to the basket without the ball.
8:45 left in the first quarter. Hurd faces Perry and lets him have it. On the turnaround, Curtis from the baseline. Silas battling Hurd. Silas with the win there. Gives it off to Scott. Scott over to JoJo White. At the perimeter. Celtics lead for the first time. 8-7, and we've got 8:26 to go in the first quarter.
Ford's inability to put the ball in the basket is allowing the Celtics to control the defensive boards and get a little bit of a running game going at this point.
There's Adams rotating underneath, Rick, as they bring Garfield Hurd up here, and that shot clock running down. Phoenix can be very patient, but there was contact as Garfield Hurd began his move that time.
Hurd putting the ball on the floor a lot more than I've ever seen him do this early in a ball game. He got Paul Silas out of position, tried to go to the basket, and Paul reached in and picked up his foul.
And that is his second foul, too, Rick. So Perry with 2, Silas with a pair, Cowens with 1. Team fouls show 5 against the Celtics. They've gone over the limit. They're in the penalty. And 3 against Phoenix. Again, 8:09 first quarter. That free throw tied it up. John McLeod goes back to sit down next to Al Bianchi. And Phoenix slides ahead again. And you can see these two teams beginning to loosen up right now. Phoenix with a little more pressure from its guards. They're picking them up as they come across that timeline. There's White. Unusual to see the Celtics use that much time. Scott couldn't get it off. Pretty defensive play by Westfall. Got a second chance. Shot clock's got 1 second. And Alvin Adams. Oh, here's Garfield Hurd. Rick all alone.
Garfield Hurd saw that Alvin Adams had the ball, and he took off and gambled. Alvin didn't get the ball, and he get an easy basket out of it.
Well, they used up that time on the shot clock. It's now 11-8, 3-point Phoenix lead. John Havlicek will be checking in. White came down. Hurd with control. Phoenix was good on defense the last couple of plays. Westfall all the way, left-handed shot. Adams avoiding the goaltending, stayed down. Scott comes right back for the Celtics. Puts a move in. Hurd will not buy it. And they've stepped out of bounds again as John Havlicek checks into the game. So apparently Tommy wants to change the rhythm here, Rick.
Well, exactly. Phoenix is actually starting to run the ball more than the Celtics are now, and I'm sure Tommy Heinsohn is not too happy with that. But that last play, Gar Hurd made a great defensive play, not enabling Charlie Scott to drive to the basket.
They have looked tough down there on defense the last couple of minutes. We've got 7 minutes and 5 seconds to go in the first quarter. It's 11-8. Phoenix over Boston. Sobers outside. Puts it in, and now it's 13-8. Tommy Heinsohn is going to call the game's first timeout. He obviously is not happy. He was down by 5. Then he went ahead 8-7. And then Phoenix took charge. It's 13-8 Suns.
Tonight's NBA championship game is sponsored by the Miller Brewing Company, brewers of Miller High Life. If you've got the time, we've got the beer. Motorcraft quality auto parts from Ford. Motorcraft, the tested tough brand of parts for all makes of cars. And by State Farm. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Mindy Rudolph, nice of you to bring back the Pepsi-Colas when you return to our table here to Rick and me.
And I brought something else.
Inside pass gets away and out of bounds.
I brought a birthday card to the Billings, Montana boy.
There are the converted turnovers. Some sloppy play here in the early going. Here's Alvin Adams out at the top of the circle. 13-8, 6:35. Back to Westfall. Look at Charlie Scott pushing against Adams. Paul takes it outside and hits it.
Well, that time Paul took his time, and he seems to have a lot more confidence in that outside shot now, and Phoenix has just scored 8 straight points.
6:20 to go in the first quarter. Havlicek, who just checked in, gives it off to Scott. From the other side, there's the weak side to Charlie Scott, and Westfall was ready. Silas came up as the ball was still on top of the hoop, so they'll come over here on the side. That's what Alvin Adams was trying to avoid a few moments ago down here at the other end.
That was a great sequence of good team defense by Phoenix that time, and we'll try to run through that one time during the first half for you. Pick it up on replay.
It's that patient Phoenix attack. Setting a play, using up the time. Shot clock going down to 5. Garfield Hurd up against Silas. That's something that Garfield Hurd did regularly against the Golden State Warriors.
That's right. He really can hit that 18-footer. You have to respect him for that. You must make him go to the basket a little bit more.
Celtics come back. Crowd a little uneasy. I'll tell you, I get the feeling here in Boston that the fans thought it was going to be awfully easy after that first game.
Well, I'm certain that they did. The Celtics are not moving as well as they normally do.
Scott and Westfall had a hand on it. Phoenix cutting off some passing lanes. Havlicek hits outside with 3 seconds on the shot clock.
That is not indicative of a good Celtic movement of the ball. They usually get a better shot than that.
It's a 7-point Phoenix lead with 5 minutes and 13 seconds to go in the first quarter. Adams has JoJo White on him, so Cowens stayed inside after the pick. Westfall. Silas there to clean up. Left his feet a little early. Ball didn't come back down. And look at Paul put it on the floor. And here's Hondo again. Inside to Silas. So he hits the field goal, and then he sets up another one. Havlicek is doing it all.
Yes, that was a great pick and roll play. And John, he's just really a fine basketball player in all phases of the game.
5-point Suns lead.
Let's watch that.
Cowens unhappy about this one, Rick.
Here's Havlicek. He goes, he drives to the basket, draws Garherd to him, sees Silas rolling to the basket, hits him with a great pass, and Silas with a good move. There's that last foul, and Dave Cowens to pass off to Westfall. Cowens jumps out on him, picks up the foul. Was not what you would call a very obvious foul.
That's 2 against Cowens. I remember the Celtics are over the limit. Phoenix will be shooting the penalty shot. Only 3 team fouls against Phoenix. We've got 4:40 to go in the first quarter. 18-12. Don't forget also this weekend on CBS, the Jack Nicklaus Memorial Day Golf Tournament. Cowens away from the basket, puts it in. Keith Erickson has checked back into the game. Actually, it's his first appearance. He got into early foul trouble Sunday and was not much of a factor for John McLeod.
But he was a big factor in the 2 series wins they had over both Seattle and Golden State. He really came off the bench and gave them life.
The Celtics can pull to within 2. Cowens out there. Adams respecting that spot this time. Silas back to Dave Cowens, and somehow Adams lost it.
Yes, there's a mix-up on the play there. Cowens came down to set a screen on JoJo White. There's a little cross to the defensive man. Adams got lost.
So they go over to the Phoenix sideline with John McLeod calling a timeout. Garfield Hurd has been the hot man. 8 points so far. Let me identify our dignitaries. That gentleman who just clapped his hands, Irv Levin, who heads up the Boston Celtics. His lovely wife, Michelle, is on his right, and then to her right, Red Auerbach. And there was the commissioner of basketball, Larry O'Brien, and there's one of our leaders, Clarence Cross from the CBS Sports Department. Larry probably wants some of that fresh money that CBS paid him last week. He's going to get some checks from Clarence Cross. But I'll tell you, we're proud to announce we're going to be back better than ever with the NBA next year on CBS. 2-year firm contract has been signed. Guarantees the league $21 million. 3 minutes and 55 seconds to go in the first quarter. Erickson with the ball, driving against Hondo. Havlicek, and he put it in. Pretty offensive play.
That's one of those tough shots, and Keith made a heck of a move there, but I don't expect to see him do that much too often.
Rick, it's a 4-point Suns lead again. And Kevin Stakem, wearing number 27, has checked in off Tommy Heinsohn's bench. Alvin Adams got a hand on it, and apparently he got more than just a basketball inside that time. And that's his second foul.
Looked like Alvin hit Dave in the head after he got the ball.
It's the 4th foul against the Suns. Shoot a pair. Mindy, what went on in the Suns locker room before the game?
Hey, they were cool and cocky, as I said at the top of the show, Brent. And John McLeod had a great line about how he wanted his team to play an offense. He said he wanted them to run around like a bunch of long-tailed pussycats in a room full of rocket chairs. And he broke the joint up, and they are loose tonight.
That was Dennis Autry. You watch check into the game. Alvin Adams will take a rest. 3:34 to go in the first quarter. And it's still a 4-point Phoenix lead as Cowens cannot hit his free throws. Westfall cut off by Stakem. Garfield Hurd with those 8 points and the basketball. Erickson inside on Havlicek. Puts a move on him and now comes up and they're going to come back the other way.
That's a good call by Joe Gashu. Keith Erickson thought he could have faked John Havlicek out. He didn't go for the fake, and Keith threw his shoulder into John and drew the offensive foul.
Dick Van Arsdale is up. He will also be checking in for the Suns. Erickson with a hand against Havlicek. Autry on the defensive switch. Erickson fronting Cowens. Cowens wanting the ball. Erickson all over him inside. Silas with control. Cowens brings Erickson other side. Erickson was pushing and doing everything. What a battle that was. And Boston hit outside. They didn't need the big man inside. It's 2018. 250. Along with our Belmont coverage a week from Saturday on CBS. Super Joe Einhorn as Paul Westfall cans one for Phoenix. Super Joe will go out after one of Evel Knievel's motorcycle jumping records on the CBS Sports Spectacular. From the corner, Havlicek comes out. Stakem, and again the Celtics take that shot clock down. Cowens. And it is Sobers with control. Sobers, Erickson, Westfall, Hurd, and Autry on the floor for John McLeod with 2:14 to go in the first. Here's Van Arsdale and also Steve Tversky. And it's against Havlicek. They'll come to the line.
That shot that Dave Cowens took just prior to this sequence down here for the Suns, Brendan, is not the type of shot I think that Tommy Heinsohn wants to see Dave taking. It takes him away from the offensive boards. It's a difficult shot out there, especially falling away. And I'm sure Tommy would rather see JoJo shooting those outside shots and get Dave inside on the boards.
All right, ball's in play. One.
2 minutes and 11 seconds to play in the first quarter of Game 2 of the NBA Championship. 23-18. Phoenix leads Boston. Celtics with control. White home uniforms. Havlicek open. They didn't get him in time. Autry with an easy interception. Celtics continue, Rick, to be sloppy with that ball.
Yes, their movement is not as good as it was in the first ball game. They're not executing well offensively.
Westfall from the corner. Celtics all over the defensive board that time. Havlicek with control. Celtics trailing by 5. Tversky left all alone. Couldn't put it down. Van Arsdale. Short. Cowens to White. Stakens on his left, and now Tversky follows. And here's Tversky.
Ability to make those shots from the outside is allowing the Celtics to get the ball out and get somewhat of a fast break.
Stakem with a hand on it. Westfall retrieves it. Westfall fighting Stakem off. Paul Westfall does not like those hands on him on defense. Inside, Westfall. Left alone. He got away from Kevin Stakem, and it goes to a 25-20 Phoenix lead inside of 1 minute left in the first quarter. Travel. Pat Riley, number 12, and Charlie Scott, number 11. Scott back into the game. Riley with his first appearance.
First time I think Pat has come into a game so early in the playoffs. At least I know he didn't come in against us. He's a good outside shooter if you allow him to get set.
Working in the backcourt with Dick Van Arsdale. Autry comes down and lost it. And here comes Stakem. With 30 seconds to go, Kevin inside. And hold on, no basket. Autry pushed him as he came in.
Take a look at the play. Stakem making a good steal. Autry lost the ball. He comes in, makes the fake. It goes up. Let's watch Autry. Mindy, what do you think of that left arm that Kevin Stakem used there?
I was just about to ask you that. He threw that left arm out there. It was very difficult to see if he made contact with it, but it was there as a shield.
Well, he made the contact, all right. I think he initiated the contact on that particular play.
And the whistle, Rick, what would you have called?
I would have called an offensive foul, I think.
All right.
31 seconds to go, and it's 25-22. Boy, I got one of the greatest players of all time and one of the greatest referees. I don't hurt for any expert information tonight. Mindy Rudolph and Rick Barry. I'm surrounded by experts. And don't forget Sonny Hill. He'll be along at halftime. Pat Riley. And Kevin Stakem with a fine defensive play anticipated the pass. Long pass to Havlicek. Came up, drew the foul. Van Arsdale, he's got a couple of free throws. 25-22. What a pretty play, and so typical of the Celtics.
Well, Exactly. They love to throw that long pass out down the floor. Take a look at the ball coming down. Perfect lead to John Havlicek. He catches it, comes down, it's under the basket, makes a fake. Dick Van Arsdale right there committing the foul. John really didn't have a chance to make that shot. He was underneath the basket. But Dick Van Arsdale couldn't stop his momentum as he was running down the floor.
Dave Cowens takes a break with 8 seconds to play in the first quarter. Jimmy Ard, number 34, replaces him.
What happened on that play, Brent, is that Audrey stepped into the lane before John Havlicek released. It was a miss, so therefore he'll get it all over again. He's going to have 4 chances to make 2 free.
What do you think about that?
I thought it was a stupid call myself.
Well,
really.
mainly because of the fact that the ball is not alive for a rebound, so it really doesn't make any difference.
Exactly right, Rick. Good analysis.
Garfield Hurd, 25-24, Suns up. And as the first quarter winds down, Suns with a miss, and Erickson could not get it back in play in time. And that's it. The end of the first quarter of Game 2 of the NBA Championship. The Phoenix Suns leading the Boston Celtics by 1.
The NBA Championship on CBS will continue after this word from your local station. See James Garner and Edward Asner in the exciting Western movie Skin Game. Tomorrow at 8, 7 Central on CBS.
As we start the second quarter, let me quickly run down the foul situation. Cowens picked up 2 for the Celtics. So did Silas. And for the Suns, Curtis Perry with 2 and Adams with 2. Now the lineups. Scott, Stakem, Havlicek, Ard, and Kaversky will take on Sobers, Van Arsdale, Erickson, Autry, and Perry. Both starting centers remain on their respective benches. John McLeod did a lot of substituting early. Havlicek with a miss. Perry. But yes, they did. It was Kaversky who was there and touched the ball, so the Suns will still have it and bring it up.
Looked like John Havlicek's foot bothered him on that particular play. He did not get very good lift.
Rick, let's keep an eye on that. Again, Dr. Silva examined him just before game time, and it was decided not to start him. John said he felt well as Erickson goes right over the top of him and hits.
That's the way he was shooting against us.
Stakem waits for Havlicek. And you can see the grand old man with that movement. It's a 1-point Phoenix lead. 27-26 as they go to work. Dick Van Arsdale gets inside, and he's out of bounds. It's a 3-second violation. That's what it is. They've turned it over. He had one tennis shoe just inside that lane area. Sobers steals it from Scott with control. Here comes the rookie. Comes up with a jump shot. Erickson bats it to the other side, but Steve Kaversky is there for the Celtics. Boston can go ahead if they can score here. Charlie Scott couldn't put it down. Celtics do not get a second chance. And it's Curtis Perry. He traveled. Took that extra step before he went into the air.
Well, it looked to me like he didn't have much choice. When he caught the ball, it didn't look like he could have taken the extra step.
And again, the Celtics with a chance to go ahead. The one scoreboard has gone out here in the Boston Garden, and it's the one Tommy Heinsohn uses to check when the teams are at the other end. Rolling hook by Ard. Celtics up 28-27. JoJo White will be checking back into the game, and so too will Alvin Adams. Phoenix trying to recapture the lead. 9:53 left in the first half. All white jerseys. No offensive board power for Phoenix that time. Very cut off Kaversky. Havlicek outside. Does not count.
Kaversky. Let's take a look at the play coming up now. Watch the good movement by the Celtics. Kaversky with the ball. sees Havlicek coming, watch him move and step over, use the left arm, hit the man, pick up the offensive foul.
When Roger Green was a little boy, he wanted to be a policeman. Last week it happened.
Car 34.
When Roger brought home his new Bearcat police scanner.
Car 34, 10-4.
Bearcats automatically track down the action around town and make you a part of it. Police calls, fire calls, emergency calls.
Car 34 has suspect in custody.
Well done.
Bearcat scanners, the most exciting thing that's happened to home entertainment since television. Bearcat, the largest selling police scanner in America.
It's adored in Bora Bora. It's the pet of all Peru.
It rates great in Guacamora.
It's the toast of Timbuktu.
It's the hit of all New Haven.
A hero in Quebec. The whole world loves world money. Bank America traveler's checks.
If you couldn't register to vote last time around, do it this time around. If you couldn't register to vote last time around, do it this time around.
Brought to you by the National Basketball Association as a public service.
With 9 minutes and 41 seconds to go here in the second quarter and Boston up by 1, the Phoenix Suns are faced with the same perplexing problem they had in the first game of this series. Very poor outside shooting. And to capitalize that problem, what the problem is that they can't get offensive boards because the Celtics have been controlling the defensive boards, and so they really have trouble offensively getting things going, but they're still in the ball game because they're playing a slow-down tempo.
And it is White who has picked up Ricky Sobers. Sobers goes inside for the pick, and here's Alvin Adams, and Jimmy Yard took him to school that time. Charlie Scott coming right back, knifing to the basket. Ard was there up over the top. He's called for the foul. Hold on.
Take a look at this play from our overhead camera. Here we come down the floor, dribbling the ball, going to the basket. Charlie Scott knifes his way through, goes up, lays the ball, doesn't come in. Jim Ard right there, jumping up over the back, trying to dunk the ball in. And it looked to me like he did definitely climb the back on that play.
First foul against Ard as Paul Westphal has come back. He'll team with Ricky Sobers in John McLeod's backcourt. 28-27, Suns trailing. And again, Ard got his hand on the ball. He has come out to do a job here on Alvin Adams.
Without any question, that's a big lift for the Celtics. Dave Cowens on the bench and Jim Ard doing a fine job both offensively and defensively.
That is Alvin Adams' strength, is to stand out there and pick up the open man. Cowens is going to come back in. Curtis Perry. And it is Ard who is right there, and he has played extremely well. Kaburski back down. Westphal was on him.
Let's take a look at Jim Ard and see how he's working for position. The ball goes up. Well, he doesn't get position to box out. He just releases and goes after the basketball. Now, a lot of big men who have good timing can get away with doing this, but a lot of times you're a lot smarter off if you make contact with your man and keep your man away from the board. If everybody were to do that, of course, the defensive team would get almost all of the rebounds.
Kaburski puts the free throws down. It's 30-27. Celtics lead at 8 minutes and 50 seconds to play in the first half. Red Auerbach on round ball at halftime. Also, Mindy Rudolph will look at these two coaches, and we'll have highlights all coming up here at the intermission. Offensive foul. So the Celtics will have the ball with 8 minutes and 42 seconds to go. Cowens has checked in. Kaburski will go out. They're going to have Cowens and Ard on the floor at the same time. So we'll see now how they match up.
Third foul on Curtis Perry.
And Garfield Hurd is going to come back into the game. Here's Cowens coming around Perry. Blocked as he drove to the basket. Charlie Scott with a miss. Ard came right back down, and there was a loose ball foul. Ard with his second.
That's what Luke Barnett used to call that the subway push.
It used to be a nickel push, but no more.
It's up to 50 cents.
Inside to Sobers, who was fouled. Charlie Scott.
That is probably the toughest play to defend against in basketball. You really put yourself in a heap of trouble when you let that man get inside position underneath the basket. There's not much you can do except foul him.
That's the first foul on Charlie Scott. He fouled out of game one, then picked up a technical when he got angry at Jake O'Donnell. Garfield Hurd turned around right baseline, put it down. It's 30-29, a 1-point Celtic lead. 8 minutes to play in the first half from the Boston Garden. Game 2 of the NBA championship. Game 3 coming up on CBS on Sunday. JoJo White from the perimeter left alone. Hard battling to tip it in. Cowens loses control. Dive for the loose ball. Adams off to Sobers. And here comes Ricky Sobers off to Paul Westphal. Now to Garfield Hurd. Comes up with that high jump shot of his. He brings down rain with that shot.
He's hitting nothing but the bottom of the net, too.
Suns ahead by 1, and Paul Silas will check back into the game. Havlicek. And it is the Celtics who go ahead, 32-31, as we start the seesaw. 7:20 to go in the first half.
Very interesting defensive alignment now. Cowens playing Hurd in the forward position with Ard in the center.
Erickson uses the screen, ball won't fly. And it is Scott off quickly to White. JoJo moves inside, dishes off Havlicek. Erickson with control. Here's Paul Westphal. Behind his back, Charlie Scott on defense. Westphal brings it down to the baseline. It was knocked away. And Westphal and Scott are exchanging unpleasantries there. So the two men who a year ago were traded for each other came nose to nose down there and started going for each other. Westphal unhappy when anyone puts a hand on him. Listen, what about Paul Westphal? Doesn't like anybody to touch him when they're on defense and guarding him. Rick and Mindy?
Well, Mindy, you know that, of course, they allow a great deal of hand checking here in the NBA. And if you're going to be a scorer in this league especially, you have to realize that there's going to be a lot of hands on you. The only problem is, of course, sometimes the defensive player thinks it's a one-way street, and he's entitled to do it, and he never wants to take anything in return.
In the post-game interview on Sunday with JoJo White, it was part of his strategy, Rick, to play Paul Westphal with a lot of hands because he knows Paul Westphal does not like it, and it irritates him, and it upsets his game. But I have noticed tonight Phoenix doing a little retaliation with hands. Both teams are out there hand-checking.
I think the officials doing an excellent job of calling it.
Adams with an inside move on Jimmy Hard. Comes up with a hook shot, and this Hard is playing some kind of defensive basketball. 6 minutes and 40 seconds. Celtics lead the Suns 32-31. Here's JoJo White. Dave Cowens picked up that loose ball and put it down.
And there's no way that there shouldn't have been a 3-second call on that play because the Celtics had men inside for the entire sequence. And I think the officials are going to have to watch it a little bit more closely. That gave the Celtics an easy basket.
6:20 on the clock. Suns working against that 3-point Boston lead. Erickson. Crowd wanted 3 seconds called at the other end. Celtics come back down, trying to exert some pressure. Over to Paul Silas. Off to Cowens. White with control. Silas picks off Westphal. Westphal battles through it. Now he's got a front Silas on the switch. Silas takes him inside immediately. Scott with a rainbow. And Silas was there being battled by Keith Erickson.
Right now, the Celtics have their strongest rebounding team in the game. They've got their top 3 rebounders, Silas, Ard, Cowens, and it's a perfect example of what happened. Paul Silas was able to get into the offensive boards. However, they're going to suffer as far as their offense is concerned. Neither Ard nor Silas are good outside shooters.
John McLeod has just answered that by taking out Erickson with those 2 fouls. Dennis Autry is in there with Alvin Adams. So all 4 centers are on the floor right now. As Silas came up, he was fouled by Garfield Hurd. So the 4 centers, Ard and Cowens, are on the floor against Adams and Autry. The Celtics, Scott and White are there, and so is Paul Silas.
Of course, Paul Silas doing what he does so well, getting in on those offensive boards, keeping the ball alive, picking up opportunities for his team.
So the standout performance of Jimmy Ard has altered the strategy in this game. John McLeod forced to change his alignment and go with Autry and Adams. Sobers battling. Cowens comes back to pressure it. Against the clock, they throw it away. Defensive pressure in the backcourt, and here come the Celtics.
Somebody must come back on the Suns and give a little hand to Ricky Sobers back there. You can't make him do it all by himself. It's easier to pass the ball than it is to dribble it.
It's a 5-point Celtic lead in 5:24. They have played as well as they have at any time the last few minutes, and now suddenly they turn it over on the pass. John McLeod calls a timeout. Wants to break up the Celtic momentum a little bit. The Celtics trying to add still another championship banner.
Hi, this is a commercial for Goodrich Radial Tires. I know nothing about tires. I know a good joke when I steal one. I mean when I hear one. The point is, most people don't know about tires. Did you know that if you drive on overloaded or underinflated tires, the tread can separate and the tire is shot? Even Goodrich Radials. What we don't know about tires can hurt us. So it's a good thing someone is telling us.
Selling great tires isn't enough. B.F. Goodrich, the other guys.
George Paparo's 74 Chevrolet gets better mileage now than it got before. Because George got better mileage by the box. A box of Champion spark plugs. We've been checking cars like George's all over the country, proving that a fresh set of Champion spark plugs alone can improve mileage and performance. If you want better mileage, remember, now you can buy it by the box. Don't waste another gallon. Fill her up with Champions.
This Saturday at 4:30 and Sunday at 4, Jack Nicklaus heads a star-studded field when CBS Sports presents the $200,000 Memorial Tournament from Muirfield Village, Ohio. Hubie Green, Tom Weiskopf, and Lee Trevino will be shooting for the $40,000 first prize. That's the Memorial Tournament Saturday at 4:30, Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern.
There's our high wire act up high in the rafters between the banners. Red McSpaden up there with our handheld camera. Take a look at the view he gets of the Boston Garden from there. You got to love your work to go up there. 5:14 to go in the first half. It's 36-31. Boston leading Phoenix.
John McLeod is countered by bringing in Autry and Adams to go against that big Celtic lineup.
Westphal is dueling Charlie Scott. Scott is all over him. Westphal battled through him, and Scott is called for his second foul. And
That's a
Jojo
good
White
call.
tries to calm Charlie down.
Oh, it's Charlie. Charlie's really bodying him, putting a lot of pressure on him, getting all over him there, bodying up, reaching in. Right there, he sticks his arm out and he holds him. That's an unnatural position with the arm out to the side.
I see 4 centers in the game at one time, Brent, and I don't think I can go back so many years that the last time I saw this is possibly when Madam Butterfly was a caterpillar.
Oh, wait a minute. Sobers hit that basket during that story. It's 36-33, 4:40, and Havlicek is going to come back into the game. They'll give Silas that shot. Cowens came over to slam into the basketball. Celtics save it, loose underneath. Here comes Ricky Sobers and the Suns. Bird is on his right. Sobers will take it himself. And Scott is back. Only one shot for the Suns. It's 36-33. Boston with a lead. 5 has been their biggest lead. Autry with control. The Suns can pull to within 1 point.
Suns have to feel very fortunate shooting so poorly here in the second quarter and still only trailing by 3 points.
4 minutes left in the first half. Red Auerbach on round ball at halftime. Alvin Adams with the shot. Hard controls. Outlet pass to White. White wants to exert a little pressure. Gives it off to Charlie Scott, who takes one of his outside shots and puts it down. 5-point lead again by the Boston Celtics. Their largest of this game 2 of the championship. And we got offense. As John Havlicek checks into the game, it'll be the Celtics ball. First foul against Sobers. There's Al Bianchi leaning over to say something to the head coach, John McLeod. And Jim Hart gets a nice round of applause. He played extremely well. Charlie Scott off the iron. Silas for an offensive board. Cowens. Autry with control. The Suns still with two centers, but McLeod will counter. He'll put Erickson back in. Westfall with a pretty drive and a left-handed layup.
Fantastic body control that time by Paul Westfall.
Now it's inside at 3:10. And he put it down illegally. They've turned it over on the dribble as Keith Erickson checks in. Autry will go out.
Let's take a look at that last basket with our overhead camera. Here's Sobers with the long lead pass. Charlie Scott almost gets it. Paul Westphal, watch him going through now. He's under the basket. He doesn't have too much room, and he reaches back with the left hand off the board.
Suns trying to pull to within 1 point of the Celtics. Silas watching Hurd. Garfield, that high arching shot off the iron. Havlicek went up, and there was a loose ball foul as Hondo went up for that rebound.
The Suns have not been able to score back-to-back baskets now for approximately 4.5 minutes. In fact, they've only scored 10 points themselves in this quarter.
Keith Erickson playing with 3 fouls. He got into foul trouble in game 1. Adams outside on Cowens. Cowens goes inside, takes the pass, and knocked out. A little jump shot from the baseline. 5-point lead by the Celtics again. 2:26. Let's see what kind of a pattern John McLeod wants set up here. It's Westfall against Scott, and on the double team there was contact illegally. And it is Scott's 3rd foul.
You know, Charlie makes a big mistake in one sense. You know, he plays tough position, gets the man to spin and reverse the other way, and then he usually tries to reach in to steal the basketball. Now, if he would stop doing that, he'd really cause a lot of problems for the man.
That's one foul that the referees will call, Rick, is reaching in. They probably call that more consistently than any other foul on the court. And Charlie Scott does not use his intelligence enough to stay away from that kind of a foul.
And Tommy Heinsohn is going to give Charlie a rest. Don Nelson comes in, so you know what that means. John Havlicek will play guard. 2 minutes and 18 seconds to go in the first half. It's 40-37. Game 3 on CBS Sunday. Phoenix, Boston, 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Dick Van Arsdale will check back in for John McLeod. Here's the veteran Don Nelson, his last season in the NBA. Havlicek left alone when Westfall went to the floor.
Tommy Heinsohn going into his bag of tricks and coming up with some very strange combinations in this ball game.
Havlicek, Nelson, Cowens, White, Silas.
Alvin Adams is being called for an offensive screen as Van Arsdale checks back into the ball game for Phoenix.
Nelson. Adams outlet pass to Keith Erickson, and 1:38 left in the first half. 5-point Celtic lead. Hurd turnaround on Havlicek. Silas rebound. Quickly to JoJo White. White the leader of the attack. He's got the ball. Nelson lost it. Now Don goes down underneath. There's Cowens. Adams watching him. Cowens hook shot. Adams puts it down, and Cowens got a hand on it. Adams saved it. Crowd thought he stepped on the sideline. Here's Dick Van Arsdale wheeling to Paul Westfall. 1 minute. Erickson taps it over, but Nelson is there. Nelson looking for the quick outlet pass, and Paul Westfall picks him clean.
That was a great steal by Paul Westphal. Just excellent hustle and good hands.
A 3-point lead again. 51 seconds, and Cowens was charging into Keith Erickson, and there was contact as Erickson went down. It is against Erickson, and that is his 4th personal.
John McLeod not too happy with that call.
We almost had a double foul on that play, Brent, as Earl Strom just held up as it looked to Earl as if there was a possible charge on the call, and Joe Gashu called them off of it and come up with the block instead. Did you see it that way, Rick?
It looked to me like one wanted to call it one way, one the other, without any question, and Earl wisely let Joe Gashu make the call, who happened to be the nearer man. And in that situation, I have to agree with that. The man closest to the play usually has a better look at it, and at least we hope so.
You know a lot more about refereeing than I thought.
That's right.
That's what he's been telling referees for years. That was Nate Hawthorne, who just checked into the game for the Suns. Erickson, the only player with 4 fouls, 3 against Scott and 3 on Westfall with 44 seconds and the score 44-39 as we near the end of the first half.
Identical score in the first game at halftime.
Hawthorne misses his first shot. Cowens gives it to White, and White is definitely trying to apply some pressure. Bring it down in a hurry. Nelson hits the shot. It's 46-39. Largest lead of this game, too, of the NBA championship.
Phoenix should play for the last shot right now, not give the Celtics an opportunity to get their hands on the ball again. Shot should go up at the buzzer.
And here they come. Westfall took it with 7 seconds left.
Make a foul. They never commit a foul.
You could hear an unhappy John McLeod. Foul was against JoJo White, his second foul.
Well, he had no reason to complain that time because they did call the foul. However, Paul Westfall was fortunate in that he did get fouled because the Celtics indeed would have had an opportunity to come down and score a basket had they missed.
You got 2 left? 2.
7 seconds to go, and Paul Westfall with 1 more.
Taking me this hands now, it's in play. 1.
6-point Celtic lead. They've been up by 7. That's the largest lead of the game. Now last shot time for the Celtics. Clock has started down. They reach 5 seconds. John Havlicek wants it. Garfield Hurd came over on him. And that is the end of the first half from the Boston Garden of this, the second game of the NBA championship. 46-41. Celtics lead. Red Auerbach on round ball coming up on CBS. We have a special award now for the commissioner of the NBA, Mr. Lawrence O'Brien. Robert Kime of the Advertising Council. Bob, why don't you take over?
Thank you. Commissioner O'Brien, you've had a great season. But there's something else great that the National Basketball Association has done that isn't as well known. You've run over 51 messages on these games telecast by CBS in the public interest. If you were trying to buy that time, it would cost over $500,000. In effect, you've donated it to the Red Cross, the United Way, the rehabilitation of the handicapped, and so on. And it's my pleasure, on behalf of the Advertising Council, to present you with this symbol of communications, our Silver Bell Award.
Well, thank you very much, Bob. I remember our association when I was Postmaster General. That goes back a few years. I also know the Advertising Council has been doing a remarkable job in this field for 34 years, all the way back to the savings bonds drive after World War II up to immunization, the flu program now. And the NBA was very, very happy to be associated in this. We're looking forward to the future in that regard. We have a great league and a great sport and all the rest, but public service also is paramount with us. And so we'll be continuing with CBS and with you, Bob, and we're looking forward to the future. Thank you very much. This is on behalf of the NBA. All right. We are at halftime. The Phoenix Suns are here behind me getting ready. Of course, they trail the Boston Celtics. They've had some matchup problems against the Celtics. We'll see what John McLeod comes up with in a moment.
Announcement brought to you as a public service on behalf of the National Basketball Association. Tonight's NBA championship game is sponsored by Datsun, America's #1 selling import for cars and trucks. Datsun saves.
And we are set to start the second half from the Boston Garden of this, the second game of the championship series. Rick and Mindy, come in here and take a look at these statistics.
Well, they're relatively close. As you can see, free throws is the difference in the ball game right now with the Celtics converting 5 more. But the field goal percentage, that's been murder for Phoenix in 2 ball games, and they're lucky that Boston is not shooting well in this particular game. And for them, it's unfortunate that they can't take advantage of a poor Boston Celtics shooting first half. Mindy?
I think you touched on it, Rick, when you said the free throws, because if you took a look at the stats in the first game, it was the free throw line also that put Boston ahead of the victory. And there we see the team scoring by Phoenix, Rick.
Westfall, of course, leading with 17 points, but he is one of the few who's shooting well. 6-4-11 for Paul Westfall, so he's having a much better ball game here this evening than he was in the first game.
We are underway. Boston with possession to start the third quarter. Phoenix will have it to start the final. It's 46-41. Celtics ahead. And here come the Suns on the initial turnover by the Celtics. The Suns with those zone principles, cutting off the passing lanes at all times, coming up with so many steals. Perry back to Adams. Cowens comes out on him, and there was a foul away from the ball inside.
That is going to be an important foul. Once again, Charlie Scott getting himself into a little bit of foul difficulty, picking up his 4th personal foul of the game early in the 3rd quarter.
And, of course, Rick, he fouled out of Game 1 last Sunday. Game 3 on CBS, Sunday, 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Hurd to the miss. Ball up in the air. Sobers. Second chance for the Suns. Sobers backs Scott in. Turns around. Comes up over him. And it was Curtis Perry who was called on the loose ball. He came up over the top. That's 4 fouls against Perry and 4 against Scott. White, Scott, Silas, Havlicek, Cowens, Sobers, Hurd, Adams, Perry, and Westfall. Havlicek and Perry jumped over on him, and that's 5 fouls. That is going to hurt.
Well, it certainly will. Keith Harrison's going to have to come into the game. He's also in a little bit of foul difficulty. But this game is so reminiscent of the game when they played on Sunday. It's a situation where neither team is playing exceptionally well offensively, and it was the Boston Celtics who came out with a big defensive burst in the 3rd quarter that turned that ball game around. So it'll be interesting to see what takes place here in this 3rd quarter.
And Rick, Keith back with those 4 fouls. Perry over on the side with 5. 11 minutes and 8 seconds to go in the 3rd quarter. 46-41. Celtics over the Suns.
I just don't think the Phoenix is going to continue to shoot so poorly. They have too many good shooters to shoot 38% for 2 ball games, and that's exactly what they're doing.
Their defense was good in the first half.
Well, they're
Celtics shot
basically
37.
They're playing their tempo. It's a situation where they're playing very slow, deliberate basketball. The Celtics have not been able to generate the running game that effectively, and they're hanging tough in there. If they get the shot going, they have an opportunity. If not, the Celtics may be able to take over with some good defensive pressure.
Sobers takes Scott, and Sobers then picks off Paul Silas. And now Sobers pops out. Adams with the ball, and it was Silas who swung over and stole it. Scott down the middle. Dick Van Arsdale set to check in. White and Havlicek crisscrossed underneath. Havlicek came all the way back to the top of the circle and put it down.
Once again, steals are one way of getting the game going as far as the running game is concerned. Good defense, making them take difficult shots from the outside. This is what the Celtics were able to do in the 3rd quarter of the first game. They're starting to do it now in this quarter.
Rick, the Phoenix team looks a lot different on the attack against the Celtics than they did against you.
Well, they're not running their offense, Brent. They're going away from their offense, not getting those cuts to the basket. They got some of those in the first ball game, but they haven't been able to get them. The Celtics are putting good pressure on, taking away the inside opportunities. And if Phoenix doesn't get those inside opportunities, they have some difficulty. A 24-second clock is malfunctioning down the far end of the floor. You see Joe Gashu going over to fix it. So Phoenix is going to have to go back to what they do so well. Run that offense. Get Alvin Adams with the ball at the top of the key, passing the ball to the men underneath it with good inside position. This is something that they've been lacking so far in this game.
Want the clock back to 23. Earl Strom is informing the table.
What they're going to do, Brad, is make sure that the
What was the timeout?
Earl Strom is checking to see exactly at what time the big clock started. Make sure that the same amount of time ran off both clocks. They want to coincide and make sure that nobody gets the short end of the stick here. There's the guy who has to do it all. He has to press all those buttons to line that clock up. He'll knock 2 seconds off the game clock to make sure that's what happens.
They sure are making a big to-do about this 2 seconds. I know it's important at the end of the game.
Up this much time.
I can't move it.
I'm going to hold it 2 seconds. All right, you hold it, Tommy. Count off 2 seconds.
He cannot move it. You'll listen.
It's 26. Tell me we have to. Don't argue with me. I know what I'm doing. Let's go.
Earl Strom said to Tommy, trust me, Tommy, I know what I'm doing. So as Heinsohn turned away, he said, I second guess that way. I'm not too sure about it.
36. Can't you reset that thing?
Want that on 36?
I want that on 36.
This is giving John McLeod and Al Bianchi an opportunity to get some real good conversation as far as strategy with the two guards, Paul Westphal and Ricky Sobers, while Tommy Heinsohn is talking about the game clock.
Time is standing still in the Boston Garden.
Earl Swan wants to set the clock at 10:36, and there it is. And they'll continue play from that point on.
So let's see if Phoenix can finally get themselves back into running their offense that they did so well against Golden State Warriors.
Now, it's still not lined up because the small clock is 10:36. He's got to hold the big clock for 2 seconds, Brent. Now it's 10:34. They're right.
Come on, man, what are you doing? All right, here we go.
And pressure right away by the Celtics. Sobers with control, bringing it up against Scott. And Scott picks him clean. Easy basket.
There's what I talked about. That's the way to get your game going. Pick up those steals. 2 consecutive steals by the Celtics. Silas and Scott, 4 scores.
It's a 10-point Celtic lead. Another steal. Here comes White. And Westfall's got his trunks. JoJo White goes down. Joe Gashu running down to the other end. I thought he was going to take his pants off on that play.
He nearly did. JoJo almost ran out of his pants on that play. Paul Westphal loses the ball. There you see him grab JoJo's pants, almost pulls him off, trips him, of course picks up the foul. And John McLeod and Al Bianchi are really complaining. You see him over there on the sideline about the use of the hand.
That's a technical on McLeod.
That's a technical. And he said a little bit too much. Mindy, what do you think about it? Are the guards putting that much pressure on with their hands?
They irritate the guards coming up. There's no question about it, Rick. And if there's one kid, as we mentioned in the first half, that doesn't like it, it's Paul Westphal. It really hurts Westphal. And if the referees continue to allow the players to use an awful lot of hands.
Hey, wait a minute.
I've seen some funny plays,
but using hands, but that's ridiculous, right?
To goodness.
I've seen some funny fouls taken in my career, but that's got to be the top.
I saw some women turning the other way when this began. And then some were looking on carefully, too. All right, 10-16 now.
JoJo had tripped. It might have been very interesting.
I'll tell you, it's getting hot and heavy out here. Here's White all over Sobers. Now drawing back, pressuring the ball. Celtics with that team defense. Scott comes in behind her. He comes up with a high arching shot. Celtics in complete command right now. It's 54-41. 9:56 Rainbow.
John McLeod's going to cut this off right now by calling a timeout. The Boston Celtics have established the tempo they want. They came out aggressively, defensively, stolen the ball, and got their game going.
On that last play, Brent, with JoJo White, when he got hold of his pants, I think the only thing that kept his pants up was the city ordinance.
And here's pressure again from the Celtics. Cowens is back there on Sobers. Sobers comes up with 9:44 to go. And how about the Celtics on defense? It is hand-to-hand warfare out there right now. They're taking everybody.
This is the type of pressure, Brent, I really expected to see the Celtics come out with from the start of game number 1. And they've only had it in spurts. Let's watch the replay here on this action with the ball. You see Westphal dribbling it around, down inside underneath. There's a lot of play. Pass inside, a lot of hands being used by JoJo.
And here's Westphal with Cowens taking him. Havlicek with Erickson. Scott watching Sobers. Cowens with control. That foul was the third against JoJo White, incidentally. 9:13 to go. Good ball movement. Celtics look much better here in the second half. They've got it all working.
It is vital right now for the Phoenix Suns to execute their offense, try to get inside and get a good basket at this time to stop this Celtics surge.
It is 58-41. Phoenix has not scored in the second half, and there's 8:50. And they finally get it down. Alvin Adams and Heinsohn is screaming that he went out and interfered while that ball was still over the cylinder. He wanted offensive goaltending.
That could be a big basket for Phoenix. Now they've got to start playing some better defense.
Silas with a second chance, loses it. Sobers with control and the ball on the floor, trying to spread out the attack. Here's Keith Erickson on the right side. Silas takes it down. Adams avoids the foul. White and Scott. Scott with control, and that Nice move by Charlie Scott. It's like a knife, real hot, coming right through butter when he starts that. You give Charlie Scott daylight, he'll put it away on the drive. Westfall misses. Celtics dominating. It's 60-43.
That's not the way to do it. The Suns are playing into the Celtic hands. Paul Westphal from the quick shot. They've got to work the ball.
Cowens waiting. Now Cowens turns the other way on the hook shot. And it goes in. Everything is falling right. Silas will get credit for it. He was battling Garfield Hurd. Fans are going crazy in the Boston Garden. 7:40 to go. Their team up 62-43.
Watch the real fine fake that Charlie Scott puts on. That's Cowens taking the left-handed hook shot. Made a good fake, got himself wide open inside. Paul Silas with the position and the offensive tip-in.
Donald, Scott, and the Celtics have it again. Tremendous surge here. Inside by Havlicek to Silas. Demonstrating how the basketball is played in the Boston Garden when the Boston Celtics are at the top of their game. And now the pressure is on the Phoenix Suns and their young coach. They must regain their composure and battle back into this contest. Hurd with a miss. Out comes Havlicek on the dribble. He was fouled by Ricky Sobers as he swung free. And there's the man who's got the weight of the NBA world right there on his shoulders. John McLeod.
It has been over 1/4 of basketball played since the Phoenix Suns have been able to score back-to-back baskets.
Very nice look at Tommy Heinsohn at halftime before they come out to start. And he said that he was going to play an awful lot of aggressive defense out here. Absolutely what it did was caught Phoenix flat-footed. Boston came out with a lot of hands, a lot of body, and absolutely just tore Phoenix apart here. They lost their composure completely, and they've got to get it together if they're to get back in this ball game.
Havlicek makes it 66-43. That's the deficit Phoenix faces. 23 points. 7 minutes to go. They have scored 2 points in the third quarter against a fabulous surge by the Boston Celtics. Alvin Adams is off Autry out of bounds.
Watch the pass coming up. Autry not watching the ball. Hit him in the head with it. Just another mistake by the Suns.
Cowens from the corner. Off the iron. Now the Suns come back down. Dick Van Arsdale, top of the circle, penetrates and takes an easy basket. Kind of move they're going to have repeatedly to get back in this. And don't forget these two teams return down to Phoenix for Game 3. That'll be Sunday on CBS, 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time, Phoenix, Boston. And if you think the crowd is noisy here in the Boston Garden, just wait until we get
by
to
Dick
Phoenix.
Van Arsdale. He goes over, cuts Charlie Scott off. Good defense, reaches in, gets nothing but ball. The ball actually went off of Charlie Scott's arm, and it should have been the Phoenix Suns ball.
Scott taking a break, 6:18. And 5 seconds violated as they tried to get the ball in bounds down there. So here come the Suns, trailing 66-45. Stakem, who replaced Scott, watching Westfall. Alvin Adams inside move. 2 easy baskets.
That's the way they have to execute. They should have started that about 6 minutes ago.
Clock moves down inside of 6 minutes. Week from Saturday, the Belmont on CBS. Silas giving it off on the inside move to Cowens. Autry and Adams, the 2 centers for the Phoenix Suns, are on the floor. Westfall got Stakem off his feet, missed with the turnaround, and Erickson was able to get it back. Here's Adams. Cowens knocks it away from him. Autry will go down inside with Silas watching him, and White came across and fouled Dick Van Arsdale. That's his 4th foul.
Here we go, Dick Van Arsdale giving a fake cut to the baseline, gets JoJo a little out of position. You see JoJo hitting him for the foul, trying to cut over the screen.
Autry pops out, brings Silas. Adams inside move, gets away on the turnover. Boston with possession. 5:12 left in the third. Celtics lead at 68-47. Silas off to Cowens. Off the glass, and Hondo Havlicek cleaned up. Incredible performance by the Celtics. Westfall was fouled by Kevin Stakem as he came up, and it was a backcourt violation. So he'll shoot 2 free throws as the Suns trail at 70-47, and Garfield Hurd checks back into the game. There's a sport that's growing, soccer. I went to Yankee Stadium, Rick, and took a look at the New York Cosmos. They were playing the Los Angeles Aztecs. That Pele is some performer.
Well, he, of course, is one of the legends as far as professional athletics is concerned.
Ricky Sobers getting ready to check back in at the next available moment. 4 minutes and 56 seconds. Professional soccer will try to make it go on CBS for the next 3 years. Big schedule of games headed your way. Just the beginning this summer. Westfall watching Stakem. Havlicek comes out, and Garfield Hurd got a hand on the ball. So the Celtics will not be guilty of turnover. Stakem gives it to Hondo, who shoots one outside, in and out, and it was Kevin Stakem who got back inside. Tapped it up toward the iron. 70-48. Over the top reminds me just a little bit of the Golden State Warriors a year ago in that first game when they fell way behind in the first half and then caught fire.
One thing about these Suns, Fred, they hang tough, and they're going to come out, execute their offense. Once again, they are still being plagued by poor shooting. If they can get the ball to drop in the basket, it would be a different situation, but they just have not shot well in either game.
You could hear Earl Straub as he picked up the third foul on rookie Ricky Sobers.
An interesting point. People always talk about trying to get tempo of the game changed, trying to get into a running style. You notice the Celtics had problems in the first half with executing their offense. They didn't move the ball well, but when they came out aggressive in the third quarter, really worked hard on the defensive end, it turned things over offensively. The offense comes so much easier when you're working hard on the defensive end, creating situations.
72-48. 4:15 left in the third quarter of this, the second game of the NBA championship. Celtics won game 1, and they have taken charge in the third quarter of game 2. Van Arsdale with a miss on the baseline move. Celtics bring it right back down. Scott will stake him on the left. Silas on his right. Now waits for the trailer, who's Havlicek. Got Van Arsdale off his feet. Missed the shot. Havlicek had a hand on it. Now Adams with control. It's Ricky Sobers. Sobers brings it back out as the Suns set a play up. Both centers on the floor for John McLeod. Autry and Adams. Sobers inside. Uses glass. Autry cleans up. Second chance not there. Wanted the foul. Celtics come back down. Scott to Havlicek to Cowens. And at the offensive board, Paul Silas, number 35.
Looked like Alvin Adams gave him a little help on that tip-in.
74-48. 3:20 to go here in the third. Sobers rotates underneath. Adams left side, a little short. Puts it on the floor, comes in, misses. Third chance for Adams. Rookie of the year comes up backwards and puts it in.
Good hustle that time by Alvin Adams. But right now it has been all Boston Celtics. They have established their running game. They're keeping the pressure on Phoenix, and Phoenix is going to have to work hard to get back into this ball game.
And John McLeod has just gone to his bench to try and improve that rebounding situation. Nate Hawthorne will join up with Dennis Autry and Garfield Hurd. So far this quarter, Boston has outscored Phoenix 28-9. It is 2:57. It's 74-50. Jimmy Ard working against Autry. Charlie Scott pops out for the shot.
Well, when things get going, everything starts to fall into place, it seems. Suns seems to be a little bit snake-bitten as far as their offense. But when they break out of it, Brent, somebody better watch out.
Glenn McDonald making his first appearance in the championship as Sobers hits for the Suns. So for Tommy Heinsohn and the Celtics, Scott and Stakem in the backcourt, Glenn McDonald and Silas at forwards. That was McDonald putting it down, and Jimmy Ard the center.
Notice Tom Heinsohn has given a lot of his first team players an opportunity to get some rest.
Sobers came to the basket, and they'll come back the other way, says Joe Gashu. Offensive foul. There are the Boston Celtics wives. Oh, yes. Give me that championship money. I got furniture to buy. Charlie Scott. Make it 80-52. 1:50 to go in this, the third quarter of Game 2 for the Boston Garden. And here in the second half, it has been all Boston. Andre lob pass into glass. Sobers was inside. Contact.
11.
Let's take a look at Charlie Scott. Watch how you keep him out of the play. Dennis Autry just goes up there and whacks him a couple times with his arm, and that's a good way to keep him out of the play.
5 fouls, Rick, on Charlie Scott.
Well, Charlie has really, I think, ignited the Celtics. He came out and really established the aggressiveness on the defensive end of the floor, and it seemed to become contagious. So he deserves a tremendous amount of credit for turning this ball game around for Boston. He and Jim Ard are probably the two key factors this week.
Back-to-back steal right in front of us. Turned it around. That's when they really started applying the heat. They got so frustrated they almost took JoJo White's trunks off. 80-54 at 1:35.
Brent, I totally agree that the two key players, two key plays in the third quarter were those 2 consecutive steals, because after that occurred, it seemed that Phoenix completely lost their composure, went right out of their pattern, started playing a running game with Boston, and the result is that they're down by 26. You cannot run with Boston and beat them. You've got to go into a pattern game. Phoenix has gone completely out of it.
Phil Lumpkin, number 10, formerly of the Portland Trail Blazers, checks in. That was the third foul against Jimmy Ard. 1:16 left in the third quarter, 80-54. Nice pass, heard to Hawthorne.
That is the Phoenix Suns' basic pattern, something that they have not been getting in this ball game. We'll watch the play again. See the man high at the basket. Garherd, good pass to a man cutting underneath, picking up the basket. But the defense the Celtics have been playing has been so tough, they forced the Suns out of their pattern. Now, it's easy to say this is what you have to do to beat them, but it's another thing going out there and doing it. But here in the third quarter, they've managed to do it.
Dave Cowens not on the floor. He has cut off that inside passing lane repeatedly in the first 7 quarters of this championship series. Scott was making a move in his offense, and Charlie Scott has fouled out.
Well, Charlie shouldn't be too unhappy because he was a big lift for this team, as we pointed out earlier. Heinsohn's a little bit disappointed. Charlie Scott, of course, he set a record in the last game when he fouled out, I think, for playoffs.
This is the 8th time that he has fouled out.
Fouling out in playoff games was also held by a Boston Celtic, one Bailey Howell.
Bailey Howell. Boy, he could light him up. Here's Lumpkin. Got Ard up in the air, moved inside. Autry battling against Silas. 30 seconds left in the third quarter. Glenn McDonald with the shot. It's 80-57. Celtics dominated in Game 3 on CBS Sunday from Phoenix. 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Week from Saturday, it'll be the Belmont. Garfield Hurd tapped that ball out of bounds.
Phoenix Suns once again playing Celtic style of basketball, running up and down the floor. They're not making those shots. They still need to slow down, execute, get it inside, try to chip away at it. They can't get it back too quick.
Time left in the third quarter. JoJo White, Autry off. Clock counting down against the Suns at the end of the third quarter. Van Arsdale trying for that last shot. Gives it to Autry, who rolls it up at the buzzer. They almost used up all the time, but it was Dennis Autry who got off the last shot. And the Boston Celtics have taken charge of Game 2.
The NBA championship on CBS will continue after this word from your local station. Cast your vote for laughter when Sonny and Cher spoof American politics, Sunday at 8, 7 Central Time on CBS.
I have been asked to tell our fans down in Phoenix that when the team returns home tomorrow, there will not be a celebration at the airport. Instead, it will be at Municipal Stadium, 2 p.m. tomorrow. So please don't go to the airport and clog that up tomorrow afternoon. Municipal Stadium, 2 p.m. in Phoenix tomorrow. Autry with control for the Suns. Ard deflected it. Perry's got it back. Curtis got into early foul trouble, so he hasn't been much of a factor. Now he puts it down. It's 80-59 and 11-39 left in this basketball game. Celtics with a great third quarter. Ard, who played extremely well in the first half, and as Rick Berry pointed out, has been one of the key men here in Game 2.
Without any question, and there Jim Ard made a good move going to his right. However, I'm sure that the Phoenix Suns have been told in the scouting report that Jim Ard really very rarely ever goes to his left, and I'm surprised that they gave him that much room going to his right.
Before Charlie Scott fouled out, he did not miss a shot in the third quarter. He hit all 4 of his field goal attempts. 11:25 left. It's 83-59. Autry waiting for something to develop, and here's Erickson. Erickson, Lumpkin, Autry, Perry, and Dick Van Arsdale. Erickson outside, off the iron. Stakem hits it, brings it back down for the Celtics. Glenn McDonald with an inside pass to JoJo White. Phil Lumpkin stepped in there. Suns come back down. Paul Westphal will check into the game. And so will Alvin Adams, the Rookie of the Year. Curtis Perry coming up over Stakem and hitting again.
One thing, Brent, we blew the Suns out in 2 ball games, but they moved tough and they came back to play again. So I wouldn't consider them actually being dead, because they are a team with a great deal of fortitude, and they really battle back. They just hang tough in there. They're going to come back.
Here's White with an inside play, and he was fouled by Dick Van Arsdale. You know, Rick, what amazed me, I was talking to Dick about the playoffs, and of course this is his first championship appearance, and his twin brother Tom Van Arsdale has never played in a single playoff game. It was hard for me to believe. I had to go check it with Dick, and he said it's true.
That's amazing how many players in their career do not get involved in playoffs, especially in championship competition in the final round. Well, let's face it, all those years the Celtics dominated. There's only one team there for so many years.
I always wondered about the Van Arsdale twins. I know when I worked, I could never really tell them apart. Could you, as a player, as an opponent?
It took a while.
Did it?
Yes.
Tom, of course, also lives in Phoenix. He'll be at Game 3 Sunday as Alvin Adams puts it down. It's 85-63. The Suns have 10 minutes and 10 seconds to do something about that Celtic advantage. Havlicek comes up fly. And Alvin Adams, he's got Westphal. Stakem was back, but Paul got it. No, it's not going to go. Cowens is there. Ball wouldn't fall. Westphal tried to draw the foul. Got back up, Stakem off. Here's JoJo White, favorite shot. Wouldn't fall this time, and Jimmy Ard came back down.
I think that last layup that was thrown up with Phoenix, Brent, almost illustrates the frustration that they've been going to in these 2 ball games. Nothing seems to fall. An easy layup just hung on the ring and just would not go through the net. That seems to be their story.
Third quarter statistics.
Check it into that field goal percentage, and that tells the story for the Phoenix Suns.
Four fouls.
The Boston's defense.
Paul Westphal outside. Rick, I was going to point out 4 fouls against Jimmy Ard on that last loose ball foul down here. We've got 9 minutes and 20 seconds left. Game 2 from the Boston Garden. Alvin Adams with control. And it's a backcourt foul. So the Suns will come up with some free throws. That's the 5th foul on Jimmy Ard.
Take a look at the play right here. Alvin Adams picks up the ball. Jim Ard coming from behind, trying to reach in. And those reach-in fouls will get you quite a few times. Possession was there, so it is a 2-shot foul in the backcourt.
And here is played college basketball at Oklahoma. John McLeod, the coach of the Suns, was the boss of the Sooners for 6 years. They were a winner in 5 of those 6 years. He has done an unbelievable job. And I understand that in that tournament, Hubie Green has a one-stroke advantage. That's what Jack Nicklaus wants to win. And I am corrected on that. Hubie is 1 stroke off the lead. Don Bees holds that stroke advantage on Hubie Green. 66-85. Suns trailing and 8:53 to go. Westfall with the ball on the floor and Stakem watching him. In and out. Battle now for the loose ball. Havlicek trying to bounce it off of Curtis Perry. And he got it done.
Take a look at the action underneath the boards right here. They're running after the ball. John Havlicek with it. Being pushed a little bit by Curtis Perry.
8 minutes and 30 seconds to play in this game. It's 85-66. Keith Erickson watching Havlicek. Silas with a hook in and out. Bill Lumpkin. Paul Westfall battling against Stakem that time. And Stakem fouled him.
7, hit, 2 shots.
That's 3 fouls against Stakem. Tommy Heinsohn up. John McLeod is up at the other end talking to Phil Lumpkin.
69 shape. Run stuff with him in the pivot, all right?
Paul Westphal having horrendous time this evening on the free throw line. He's usually a pretty good free throw shooter. A lot of frustration, I think, for Paul Westphal in this series so far, Brent.
85-67. 8 minutes and 5 seconds. Cowens starts his move on Adams. Silas was there. Second chance. And Alvin Adams yanks it down. Westfall's ahead. White is there. Ball comes up. It falls and he drew the foul. Pretty play by Westfall that time as he got free. What's the baseball pass?
Great pass by Alvin Adams, who picked off the missed shot by Silas. You see the ball coming in the air. Perfect lead. JoJo with the arm. Give a little push to Paul Westphal, who makes a difficult layup attempt. He has tremendous body control. I've seen him make some shots during the course of these series where you have figured there's no way that he possibly could be under control, but yet he puts the ball up there very softly. Again, he misses a free throw.
Here come the Celtics now. JoJo White is calling timeout. He's got 5 personal fouls on him. Charlie Scott has fouled out of this game. There's 7:42 to go. It's 85-69 Boston.
I definitely recommend a Datsun from the experience that I've had. Well, when I originally bought the pickup, I thought I'd be able to put about 50,000 miles on it, and then I was figuring on trading it off. But it's got 118,000 miles on it now. It's been absolutely the most durable vehicle I've ever owned. And I'll definitely buy another one if it ever wear out.
2 tough Datsun pickups, 7-foot stretch and 6-foot standard. No wonder Datsun's America's #1 selling small pickup. Datsun saves.
Focus right here and press the button.
Okay.
Hey, that's it. Hold it. That's a good night smile.
Polaroid's Deluxe SX70 land camera. There's nothing like the kick of seeing your pictures develop in minutes before your eyes. With 3 SX70s to choose from and the new little Pronto at $66, why don't you get one for yourself?
I want to take one.
Oh, no, I've got athlete's foot.
Oh, my feet itch.
Darn it, I got athlete's foot again.
If you've got athlete's foot, don't blame Decinex, because Decinex contains the most widely used fungus killer to help stop athlete's foot fast, and Decinex every day helps keep it away. So from now on, if you get athlete's foot, it's your fault, not ours.
Rick, I wouldn't be surprised if Phoenix goes right out after JoJo White.
If they're smart, Brett, that's exactly what they're going to do. because JoJo has 5 fouls. They already have Charlie Scott out of the game. They're in the midst of their best offensive run of the evening, 8 straight points. If they have any chance at all, they got to try and get JoJo out of the game.
Don Nelson has checked in, and John McLeod is going to answer that with Dick Van Arsdale. Curtis Perry taking Silas. 7:30 to go. White with a miss, and Perry skied. Here comes Erickson and Westphal. 8 straight points the Suns are working on right now.
I might add, Brent, that this happened when Curtis Perry came off the bench and fired up their offense.
Celtics come back down after that miss. JoJo White blocked by Erickson, who came from behind and got a hand on that. Van Arsdale and Lumpkin will go out.
JoJo White coming down. Figures he's in good position for the jump shot. Keith Erickson comes down with good effort, picks off the ball, knocks it out of bounds.
Havlicek up against Perry. Perry in foul trouble, being careful. Perry now with the rebound, and here come the Suns again. And Alvin Adams to the basket with a pass off the Westphal. Nelson there on defense. Cowens and Nelson did the defensive job. Havlicek back on the attack. JoJo White inside. Wants to get back at Havlicek and cut to the basket, but John gets back and beats Westphal to the ball. 6:45. Don Nelson. Van Arsdale. And again, the Suns have run off those 8 straight. They've missed a couple of times, but the Celtics have been unable to hit. Perry cutting for the hoop, and Havlicek was there. He got in between Westphal and Perry and got a hand on it and knocked it out of bounds. 85-69. 6 minutes and 32 seconds left in this game. Second game championship series. Game 3, Sunday on CBS, 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Curtis Perry, who Mindy just pointed out, has done a job, puts it down. That's 10 straight.
Yes, he's playing in serious foul trouble also. And the Celtics have not scored in over 4 minutes now.
It's 85-71. Charlie Scott is fouled out. JoJo White with 5 fouls. Westphal applying pressure. Dribble is gone. Ball is on him. Westphal switches out on Havlicek. John wanted it back from Nelson. Westphal chased him down to the lane. Now it is Alvin Adams who steals it from Cowens. With 10 straight points working for them, here come the Suns. Westphal at the top of the circle. It's 12. Heinsohn's got to have a timeout. The Phoenix Suns have suddenly clawed their way back into this basketball game. 5 minutes and 51 seconds to go. Celtics still in command if they don't panic. It's 85-73.
They're going to come back.
Unbelievable as it may sound, my first Datsun had 150,000 miles on it before I ever relined the brakes. The car is durable, reliable, dependable, and I do believe that with a little care and maybe love and affection, the car may run forever.
Like all Datsuns, economical B210s make the savings last. Datsun saves.
You know, I finally found a beer I can respect. Light beer from Miller. It tastes great. But what I really like is less filling. Light has 1/3 less calories than their regular beer. I tell you, I gotta watch myself. This is a tough place. Well, this place is so tough, the hat checker's name is Dominic. In a place like this, I gotta move fast. I can't afford to get filled up. I tell you, I don't get no respect.
Light beer from Miller. Everything you always wanted in a beer, and less.
Hi, I'm Tom Watson. You know, the right grip is the basic fundamental for a good golf game. And a firm grip in the road is basic to your driving safety. That's why I use Armstrong tires. They grip the road. And now, your local Armstrong dealer can offer you a great deal on this high-performance steel-belted radial. See them today and see for yourself. Armstrong tires. They grip the road.
Rick, did the Celtics just relax?
I think when Charlie Scott fouled out of the game, it hurt them a great deal. He was the man initiating the aggressiveness on the defense, and their aggressiveness has stopped, and consequently their offense has suffered. They're 1 for 15 in this quarter shooting.
12 straight Phoenix points. Cowens inside, and there was contact as he came up with the ball.
1 for 15 will not get you very many points. They're taking difficult shots. Phoenix has become aggressive, and the game is just completely turned around as far as the aggressiveness is concerned. But Charlie Scott was a big key when he went out of the ball game.
That's 5 fouls also on Keith Erickson, so let's keep that in mind right now. 3 on Sobers, 5 on Erickson, 5 on Perry. So those two are definitely in trouble as John McLeod watching Dave Cowens at the line. JoJo White with those 5. Cowens missing again. They can't hit free throws either. It's 5:35. Jimmy Yard has 5. He has since gone to the bench. Alvin wants it. Cowens guarding him. Inside to Curtis Perry, and it is 14 straight Phoenix points. It is now a 10-point Celtic lead. 5:20. Scratching and clawing and coming back. Here are the Phoenix Suns. Now it is John Havlicek waiting for JoJo White. Inside move, and White hits the field goal. The first in 5 minutes of play for the Boston Celtics.
It was a tough shot at that.
Down inside, 5 minutes left in this game. 87-75. Celtics with that 12-point lead. Working against 5 seconds. Westball from way deep. Way outside over by the side. Now the Celtics back. They hit the last field goal, and it was JoJo White who did it. Paul Silas with Van Arsdale on him. Drives around, misses the underhanded shot. Suns back down, and I'd have to watch for Curtis Perry if I've got the ball on that team right now. Adams outside. Nothing wrong with that shot either. It's 10 again and 4:20. And if nothing else, John McLeod must be extremely pleased with the way his team did not give up. White on the move, and Westfall from behind fouled him.
22-14. Let him run it.
No doubt about what Heitzel was.
Yes, and he's trying to get the ball sure down inside because both teams have 4 fouls and they'll be going into the bonus situation.
Havlicek with Van Arsdale holding him outside. Coming the other way on the offensive foul.
That's when John McLeod called it to Earl Storm did. He was calling offense before it even happened.
So it's a 27 spread with Phoenix leading Boston so far in the 4th quarter. 87-77, 4:03 left to play in this game. There's the leaderboard for the Memorial Open.
Very interesting. Of course, this brings back memories of the tremendous playoff, the Sammy Davis Jr. Hartford, the Greater Hartford Open, when Don Bees and UB Green were involved in that playoff, along with J.C. Snead. Right now, Brandon, you probably asking yourself, I'm sure all the fans are, you know, what happens in a situation like this in a basketball game? How in the world can you just reverse entire roles that the teams were playing? It looks like all of a sudden one team is playing, being passive, the other one's aggressive, then the other team's passive, and that team's aggressive. This is why the game of basketball never ceases to amaze me. It seems to run in cycles, and it's the team that can generate the most cycles in their favor as far as their particular style of play that usually wins the ball game. But the Celtics' big difference has been they lack what we like to talk about as the killer instinct. They got way ahead, and they stopped doing what they were doing well, which was playing the good aggressive defense. And that's the hardest thing in the world to get yourself to do when you get up into the 20s as far as the lead is concerned. You get to get a little complacent. You think you have the game under control, then all of a sudden it starts to slip away from you like it's happened here this evening with Phoenix fighting and battling back. But that's the type of team they are. They hang tough.
4 minutes and 3 seconds left in this basketball game. Boston leading Phoenix by 10. They won game 1 by 11. Game 3 Sunday on CBS, 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time. There are those incredible statistics so far. And a key man has been Curtis Perry, and also Adams with Cowens all over it. Cowens steals it from him. Nelson breaks free. Here is a gimme.
Once again, the defense doing it for Boston. The aggressiveness of Dave Cowens.
89-77. Cowens goes back down and picks up his 3rd foul.
Earl Storm didn't call it that time. I thought perhaps maybe he should have called it on the previous play also, because Cowens was using a lot of hands. You can't allow Cowens to do that, because he will murder any center he plays against.
The miseries of the Phoenix Suns on the free throw line are really going to plague them right here. They're making a comeback bid, and if you think of all the free throws they've missed during the course of the ball game, they could be a lot closer at this stage.
89-78, 11-point margin.
Now work hard.
Scoreboard gave you the time inside of 3:30. And the Suns are going to get it.
That is a good call by Joe Gashu. Don Nelson definitely touched the ball. Keith Erickson with good aggressive overplaying action on the passing lane.
Some key moments for the Suns right here as we slide down inside of 3:20. Lob pass to Adams.
They did that against us several times, and it's a play that they finally have worked here against Boston for the first time in 2 ball games.
A 9-point lead. Steve Kaburski will check back in for Tommy Heinsohn. JoJo White comes up, and you can hear John McLeod yelling at Paul Westphal not to lose him that time.
Watch the last pass. You see Westphal with the lob pass. There goes Alvin Adams to the basket, a beautiful lead and a dunk shot. They love to run that type of action without the basketball. This last sequence down here could have cost Phoenix dearly. They now, of course, they're in the bonus also. Great hand for Don Nelson as he's left the court. And if the Celtics win this in 4, Don Nelson will have played his last basketball game here at Boston Garden.
Paul Westphal, 4 fouls. His 4th has sent JoJo White to the free throw line, and White has put the Celtics back ahead by 10. It's 90-80, 3 minutes to go.
The Suns must come down and get a good shot, try to score a basket, and then the next 2 or 3 series on defense will be the key as far as them getting back into this game or not.
All right, Rick, let's see now if they can get it. Here's Curtis Perry working against Steve Kaburski, who's come in. They miss it, and it was Silas with that critical defensive rebound. Havlicek applies the offensive pressure. 2:40, Kaburski waits for Hondo. Now John starts his move to the basket. 93-80, Adams quickly to Erickson. Erickson comes right back down. Ball will not fall. And it is the Celtics with a couple of big plays down the stretch. Leading by 13. 2:20 left in this, the second game of the championship series. Kaburski gives it back to Hondo. And goaltending, 2 points. Alvin Adams pinned it to the glass.
That ball would have never gone in the basket, but of course Alvin Adams went up and had committed himself and couldn't prevent his own body reaction from stopping that ball. But I'm sure one thing, Brent, even though the Celtics are in command at this point, the Suns have to feel that, hey, listen, we can't play against these guys if we just go out and do the job.
Turn around, miss. And there is that grand old man again, Hondo Havlicek. You can't say enough about John Havlicek. When they write the history of athletics in this country over the last 2 decades, John Havlicek is going to figure among the finest athletes you've seen play any game at any time, and he's not finished yet. He's coming back next year. Here is Curtis Perry backing in to Steve Kaburski. The Celtics are going up by 2 games, and this series is going to go back down to Phoenix Sunday.
Brent, you mentioned John Havlicek. I know he just celebrated a birthday. He was 36 years old. Now, your birthday was yesterday. Are you going to tell us, or are we going to have to guess?
I'm the same age, and nobody calls me a grand old man. I don't know.
You're the same age as whom?
When I was at Northwestern, I used to watch John Havlicek and Jerry Lucas, and I still think that was the greatest college basketball team I ever saw. With apologies to Bill Russell and K.C. Jones, that was some basketball team that Taylor had in Columbus, Ohio. Siegfried, Mel Knoll, Joe Roberts, they could play it. Havlicek into the corner. Alvin Adams on him, 118. It's 97-83. JoJo White, who has lasted it out so far. Cowens pumps it right back in.
I'm surprised that Tommy Heinsohn is leaving John Havlicek in the game.
Westphal starts his move, gives it off to Adams, and there was contact inside.
Take a look at this last basket coming up. There's a jump shot by JoJo. It's off. Watch Dave Cowens go up there aggressively. No one screened him off. He had a clear path to the basket. You can't let the big red fella have that type of lane to the hoop.
Rick, you made a very good point. I often wonder what happens to a coach when they get a 16, 17-point lead with a minute to play. Why don't they rest the Havlicek?
Well, he's doing that right now.
You must have heard it.
So you must have said something to him.
David Cowens will be back in action Sunday at 1:30 Eastern Time on CBS. 10:30 start down in Phoenix, and again for the Phoenix fans, you can welcome this team that didn't quit here tonight. They were long gone in the third quarter, and they didn't surrender. They'll be home at 2 p.m. tomorrow for a rally in Municipal Stadium, not the airport. Mindy and Rick, let's go out and have a birthday party tonight, all right?
Bring the cake and pay the check. I'm with you.
I think that's a heck of an idea.
Oh, wait a minute.
Rick and I will supply the candles if we have enough of them.
Tommy Boswell gave it off to Jerome Anderson. Bench clearing time. Kaburski. 55 seconds. Time has run out here. This is the second game of the NBA Championship Series. Don't forget the Jack Nicklaus Golf Tournament Saturday on CBS. That's one that Jack wants to win in the worst way. Taken away by Alvin Adams.
Just look at those Phoenix Suns. They're trailing here by, what do we have, 16 points, and they're still battling right down to the buzzer.
If nothing else, it shows you a lot of character on their part, Rick. Not about to put their heads down. Westfall on the drive. Hits a basket and drew the foul.
33!
Kaburski got him.
They certainly are going to be put in a very difficult position with the Celtics winning these 2 games here. We'll take a look at the play now. Alvin Adams with a good pass off to Westfall. Kaburski gets him with the body as he lays it up. There's the 3-point opportunity for him. But the Suns know, I think now, and convince themselves that if they really go out and work hard, that they can outplay the Boston Celtics in certain situations. And I'm sure they're going to come back as aggressive as they could be in that third game.
Jerome Anderson from West Virginia hit that field goal. He's a rookie. 103-88. And the Celtics had not been over 100 points for the last 6 playoff games. Curtis Perry. And Mindy, what a difference that has made bringing him back in, even though he's playing with those 5 fouls. Tommy Boswell, another rookie. South Carolina put that one down. 5 seconds. Here's Perry. 1 second left, and that's it. 105-90. And so, gentlemen, the series will move now to Phoenix, where on Sunday the Suns will have that something called the home court advantage. They fell way out of this the second game in the third quarter. Then they scratched and clawed and battled back to within 9 points of the Boston Celtics before the Celtics took charge again. And when you come from that far off the pace, you use up an awful lot of energy, and it's awfully hard to get over the hill once you fall out of a game the way the Phoenix Suns did. But the important factor is they didn't quit. And I don't look for them to quit in this series either. And so, for Rick Barry, Mindy Rudolph, and Sonny Hill, this is Brent Musburger saying goodbye from the Boston Garden, with the final score again is Boston 105, Phoenix 90.
Tonight's NBA championship game, sponsored by Datsun, America's number